All right, hello guys, and welcome here to the first of two episodes of Tinkle Olympic Zone here. Yes, we're taking care of business, we're working overtime, you name it. Yeah, glad to see.
Yeah, the first time I'm doing some overtime here. I'm usually not with you doing overtime for Tuesday episodes, but hey,
Yeah, hey.
here I am.
Hey, now next step is out of turn 4. I'm just kidding, I know you're not into racing, so
Now we'll figure something out.
yeah, hey.
Adding another show. I don't know.
Who knows? The possibilities are endless. But coming up,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. So coming up today here on Tinkle Olympic Zone, we have the medal count as of Sunday night. We got some players that were ruled out due to COVID protocols. We got an update on swimming, skateboarding, gymnastics, soccer, and basketball. The much anticipated update on basketball. You're going to have to wait till the end if you're watching the premiere. My apologies. But of course, keep in mind we're recording Sunday night, so anything that happened Monday or Tuesday in the wee hours of the morning, we know nothing about. And we'll update you if there's any big developments. We'll update you on Tinkle Sports Talk on Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to kind of do it both on the shows here. But let's start off with the medal count. China's off to a hot start. They got 11 gold medals. The U.S. has got 10. And then Russia's got 7. By the way, this isn't gold medals. This is overall medals. My mistake there. China got the first gold medal of the Olympics on Saturday morning. I hope I'm pronouncing this name right. Qian Yang got the first gold medal in the 10-meter air rifle. First off, didn't even know that was an Olympic sport. You're probably going to hear us say that a lot on the next two Tuesdays here. But nonetheless, sharpshooter.
Yeah. Seems like it.
Hey, listen, I'm not much of a hunter, but I love venison. Can I take her with me to go get some venison? Is that inappropriate
unless
to
you're
ask?
willing to go all the way out to Japan to ask that.
Is that inappropriate to ask for her to go hunting with me?
Probably, but hey, that's all right.
Qian Yang, if you're watching this, first off, if you ever want to go hunting, I could use someone to shoot some venison for me. And to you vegans out there, get over it. That's just my simple solution.
Oh my god!
Actually, it might be more duck hunting. It was air rifle, so maybe more duck hunting.
Yeah, exactly.
Duck Dynasty. All right.
Oh my gosh, get the duck horn and everything going.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
what I was gonna say, I was gonna comment about the medal count. It always seems like USA and some other country, sometimes a lot of the times it's China, but a lot of the
Yeah.
times it's gonna be other countries. They always seem to battle it out
See,
with another country for medal count.
yeah.
Like we said, that's not really gold medals. A lot of
Yeah, it's
times
just
USA
overall
maybe
medals.
have more gold medals than
Mhm.
a lot of other countries. But so far, that seems really, really close. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know if
through
USA
2 days
is
too.
got the. I don't think they even got the advantage going, at least starting off wise this year.
Yeah, they may not medal in some sports that they normally medal in. So
Of course,
this
we'll
could
talk
be
about that
interesting.
later.
Um, yes, we will. And of course, but let's start off with the breaking news. Of course, if you've been paying attention Saturday and Sunday, the big news is surrounding the golf match in the Olympics. So, Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, both diagnosed with COVID. Not even a few months ago. This is their second battle with COVID-19, but they tested positive over the weekend. They are done for the Olympics. A big development is, of course, these are two of the top golfers in the world, and this is going to put a little bit of the pressure on Team USA now.
Yeah, I would say so.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if they're gonna win gold because of it, but they might still win some sort of medal. Um, eh, bronze is definitely not the best to have, but it'd be
Hey, a
better than
medal's a
nothing, I
medal.
guess.
So,
But with two of your top golfers out of it, it doesn't look very
yeah.
promising at all.
Um, I don't want to blame protocol. Of course, we've talked
Mm,
on Tinkle Sports Talk. Our initial reaction was they should cancel the Olympics again because of the strict protocols in Tokyo.
right.
But obviously, I think we needed these games. But at the same time, there's still reality that's striking here. And it's just unfortunate. Again, Tokyo right now is in a huge COVID battle. Mind you, they don't have the vaccine supply that the US has and North America
Mm,
has in general. I believe Canada has a pretty good supply of it as well. But
right.
they don't have the supply that we have. So it's just, it's going to be a very, very long 2 weeks. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more athletes diagnosed with it. Um, I'm not sure if you saw the pictures of some of the hotel rooms, but oh my goodness. It looks like a college dorm, and not to mention a spaced out college dorm. Like,
Mm.
they got like those tiny beds that are like 12 feet apart from each other. Um, you know, I saw it.
Whatever they gotta do.
I can't even begin to tell you where I saw it, but I saw it, and I swear I saw it. But anyway,
Hey, they have to do something to stay
yeah,
safe.
hey man,
And if it means spacing the beds even further apart, like I said, whatever has to work, whatever has to work.
it still won't
Unfortunately,
help with the snoring issues. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
probably
I'm
not,
sorry.
but you know,
I'm sorry.
hey,
I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about
no,
just.
I know. No, I'm just saying, like, yeah, it might not help much with that, but you know, of course, there's not really much we can really go on, say too much about that. Um, of course, we can go on and on about, oh, well, they should have done somewhere else. They shouldn't have had it in
You really
Tokyo.
can't take
I
it
guess the
from them.
best, I guess the best part is that they're at least not allowing fans, so the fans won't catch
It's
COVID. They'll be able to still watch it,
it's
but
great, but it's terrible for the families of these athletes who, not to mention these athletes, some of them work harder than others. I mean, look, basketball, you're on the world stage all the time. Okay? You're in
right,
the NBA, you're on the world stage all the time. Gymnastics and swimming and sometimes soccer, you're not really on the world stage that often. You know, and
right.
gymnastics especially, because gymnastics, there's such a small time frame from when you're in your prime to too old to compete, especially in the women's side. um
Hmm.
and you got to feel for those families. I mean, Simone Biles, she's probably in her last Olympics, being 24 years old. You've got a 12-year-old somewhere in the Olympics. I believe gymnastics. You got to feel for her family. They can't be there to watch her because they've worked hard to allow her to get there.
Right.
And, this very well could be her only one. I mean, we saw Michaela Maroney. She only competed in one. Imagine if this was Michaela Maroney at this age, and there was a pandemic and she couldn't have family there. I mean, that's devastating because, again, she didn't compete in the 2016 Olympics. She's not competing in the 2021 Olympics.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I love that they're doing everything they can to keep these athletes safe, but I feel for the athletes who are not normally on the world stage at this magnitude.
Yeah. it sucks to not have the families there to watch them,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're younger and maybe still living at home. But
Yeah.
just look at it this way, they can still be there in spirit.
Yeah.
Worst case, they can um Skype, video chats, stuff like
Oh
that
yeah.
with their
Like
families
like
and
the
stuff like
initial
that
pandemic.
for motivational talks. And they're just used to, you know, preparing
Mhm.
so much for the Olympics. So once they get into the Olympics, their
Mhm.
mind's just
I
on
mean,
the Olympics. Yes, I
yeah.
know they would want to have their families there to support them, but
Yeah.
their minds are, well,
Hmm.
I got my chance to win gold medal. Let me
Yeah.
go out there and prove it to my
Exactly.
country that I can do it. So,
Mhm. And
and
see,
I think that, there's not really many distractions in that sense that, well, yeah, I don't have my family here, but at least, you know, there's not really going to be too many distractions from the crowd itself. Yeah, I know they
mhm.
don't really make a lot of noise and stuff like that
Yeah.
when, certain sports are going on, but, not having that crowd noise has got
Mhm.
to at least be somewhat of,
Well, they've had pumped in crowd noise. I don't know if you. I mean, I know you didn't watch the women's soccer game, and of course we'll talk about it soon. But
mhm.
I think I showed you a snippet when I went through your line the other day at work. But yeah, they had pumped in crowd noise, and I think they're doing that for the entire Olympics.
Yeah, but I don't know. That might just be for the television itself. I don't know if the actual athletes are
Hmm.
hearing that.
Yeah.
Kind of like with the NFL last year, they had all that pumped in noise, but the teams themselves weren't hearing
Again,
it. It was just the people watching it on the
yeah.
TV.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wanted to add as well to that thing I said about parents missing out on the biggest moments of their kids' lives. You know, imagine if, you got a feel for the graduating high school class of 2020. You've got a feel for them. They were born in 2001, mind you.
Hmm.
They were born the year of the most, probably, easily, actually, I shouldn't even say probably, it is the biggest attack on American soil in the history of our country. Okay. Let me
Right.
just start off by saying that. They graduate from high school in a year where everything's locked down.
Hmm.
Some of them didn't even have a high school graduation. Okay. For now, I mean, obviously, being in the Olympics is just as big as a high school graduation, but imagine the first Olympics you go to. To me, that's comparable to a high school graduation because at the end of the day, that kid might not be going to college. That kid might not be
True.
going on to graduate something. I don't know. If I was a parent and in watching my kid compete in this Olympics, probably their one and only time competing in it, I guess I would just feel for him at the end of the day. I would be devastated if I was a parent not being able to be there to support my kid in the Olympics.
Right.
So, because again, this is big, big milestones. This, to me, I mean, any milestone that you have a kid and they're accomplishing that, you want to be there for that.
Yeah.
I know, there's the television, there's NBC covering every aspect of the Olympics.
Yeah.
I'm sure TSN in Canada, I don't know who has the Canadian rights, but um,
Probably TSN.
yeah, and then other networks across the globe are covering it, but it's not the same at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's always going to be that hole in their lives, and I wish there was a way to make it up to them, but there really isn't, unfortunately. And that's just
Definitely
such a
not this
shame.
year.
But I just thought I'd throw that out there to any parents of Olympic athletes out there. I feel for you. I'm so sorry you can't be there to watch your kid compete. I hope that in 2024 you get that opportunity to watch them compete in those Olympics.
For sure, they definitely will.
So just thought I'd
sure.
throw that out there, especially after the news of Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm being out with COVID.
Right.
So just thought we'd get that out of the way early. Should we move on? Let's move on to swimming here.
I'm probably just gonna say this one last note.
Yes.
Didn't realize that. I didn't realize golf was an Olympic sport, and I know we said that at the start, but I did not realize golf was an Olympic sport.
You're gonna hear that a lot on this show. Okay, I promise you. This is not the first, what Jason just said, and this will certainly not be the last time over the next 2 weeks you hear that. Of course, we'll also be covering the Olympics over on Tinkle Sports Talk on Sunday. Probably not as heavily as this show, but we'll be covering it.
Right. I just want to know what's next to be an Olympic sport.
Esports. Esports will be the next one. That's my call.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Most likely.
I don't know what Olympics it'll be, whether it'll be summer or winter, but I promise you in the next few years.
Probably the winter.
Yeah. The IOC will make e-gaming a part of it. That's a guarantee. You've heard it here.
Yeah, but you already... I don't want to delve too deep into it, but you can already compete with esports. To make it an Olympic competition or Olympic sport, just, I don't know.
See,
you already compete and win a lot of money for it. To have to compete for like medals, like
I'm gonna go off topic and off the rails. By the way, can I just point out that, and I don't want to knock all the e-gamers out there, but at the end of the day, I hate it because to me, I'm probably going to offend a lot of listeners. I'm going to offend a lot of viewers, but to me, e-gaming isn't a sport. At the end of the day, it's not comparable to the ball and stick sports. I'd even put auto racing in there because keep in mind, you've got to be fit to drive a car that's 120 degrees. You have to be fit to obviously get the car off the ground with a jack, nonetheless, and change a tire in less than, or do a pit stop in less than 12 seconds in NASCAR, 6 or 7 seconds in IndyCar, 2 seconds in Formula One. But I as a youth coach, there's nothing that frustrates me more than esports and children pursuing this. But I'm also old-fashioned. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I think it's time to go to swimming.
Yeah, let's move to swimming because now we've gone off the rails here on Tinkle Olympic Zone.
No, I mean, usually U.S. is really, really good with swimming, of course, with Michael Phelps,
he's not there anymore, but hey.
Gold medal. I know. Yeah. Well, he's retired.
The GOAT.
But like USA is pretty used to winning medals with swimming.
Should we point out that they got 6 to start?
That's not shocking at all. Okay. We usually do have somebody that can win a lot of gold medals with us.
Yeah, so you want me to read the names? Because we got some that are tricky here.
What was that? Chase Calise?
Chase Calise, he wins gold in the 400-meter individual medley, and of course that's on the men's side. You've got Emma Wyant, I hope I pronounced that right, the last name at least. She won silver in the women's, oh my goodness, 400-meter individual medley. Of course, the gold went to Yui Ohashi. I hope I pronounced that. Ohashi. These, what's funny is these names of athletes from other countries, and I mean no disrespect to any of them, and I do apologize for butchering the names, but it's going to be a long 2 weeks if I got to read them. Again, I mean it with I try to mean it with as much respect as I can, and I do apologize to those athletes because obviously, again, I stressed at the beginning, and I'm going to stress again, they worked very hard to get on this stage, and I'm going to try my best to pronounce these names right because they deserve to have them pronounced correctly, as does anybody for that matter. But Holly Flickinger from the U.S. won bronze in that same race. Of course, we really haven't heard from one big name so far, and that's Katie Ledecky.
Sometimes people get the rough starts, so maybe she's just having a rough start, and then we'll finish.
I don't know what event she's competing in, but I imagine she will win a gold at some point.
Oh, yeah, most likely.
She's the best female swimmer right now in the country, or in the world almost. I believe she's set a lot of world records. So,
yeah.
You'll hear
and
from
sometimes
her.
It's not hard for a lot of those women swimmers to set world records in swimming. Yeah, it takes a lot of skill to do what they do.
Yes,
so
exactly.
All the power to them to win as much gold as they can.
Yeah. I think the U.S. if the U.S. is going to mop the floor in the medal count, it's going to be in swimming. I think.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's going to be the gold mine. Of course.
And the USA usually does.
Yeah. See, like gymnastics is always a toss-up because Russia is always the team that gives the U.S. a run for the money. Obviously the team sports of soccer, basketball, they're up in the air right now. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes of why I'm saying that, of course. But let's move on to skateboarding, because this is one, first off, it's a first-year Olympic sport. There's really no way to gauge who is the best of the best right now.
Right.
But I could tell you who's the best of the best in one category. Yuto Horigome, I hope I pronounced it right, of Japan.
Yeah, probably Horigome.
Yeah,
Horigome.
Yeah, Yuto. I know. I'll just say Yuto because I believe I'm pronouncing the first name right. And if I'm not, again, I apologize to the athletes. And again, I mean it with no disrespect. It's just I'm not good with names. So, but he won the first ever gold medal in skateboarding, and that's in the men's street division. Jagger Eaton, I believe it's either Jagger or Jagger Eaton. One of those two is
probably
the first name.
Jagger Eaton.
I'm going to go with Jagger.
But then again...
But you can tell we're going to have fun the next 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, so he won bronze.
The only question I have about skateboarding, how the hell was it not an Olympic sport all this time? Snowboarding was an Olympic sport in the Winter Olympics for so many years. How come it took until now, all of a sudden, for skateboarding to become an Olympic sport?
The IOC didn't want Tony Hawk.
Games, but how was it not part of the Olympics?
Come on, the IOC didn't. The IOC did not want Tony Hawk to mop the floor with everybody.
I understand, but if skateboarding was in there,
that's my opinion.
I hate to say it. Tony Hawk definitely would have won maybe 20 gold medals at this point. Just saying.
He would have given Michael Phelps a run for the money as the most decorated Olympian of all time.
I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but there was a reason why Tony Hawk made all those games he did back in the day.
There's a reason why he was so good. He's, but...
I hate to say it. At 50 years old, he could still be probably winning gold in skateboarding. Come on now.
He's too busy on the Peacock and the NBC networks. So, I think he realizes he's a little too old to compete against the youngsters, and he's too busy filming Subway commercials.
Or why can't his son is a skateboarder, why can't his son be in the Olympics?
Son might not have qualified.
No, probably not, but hey,
so, but yeah. With that, let's move forward as well. So now we got gymnastics. Here's the thing. I think there are 4 sports, actually, that are probably the biggest on the stage at the Summer Olympics. There's obviously basketball. Then you've got soccer. I think women's soccer ranks higher than the men's soccer, to be honest.
Well, it kind of always has.
But it varies, obviously. In the U.S., it's the women's soccer that I think weighs heavily. Just because.
Now
let's put it this way:
Abby,
our men's. No, Abby Wambach's done.
Is Wambach? That's what I thought.
She's been retired for years, but Megan Rapinoe's the big star over there, as well as Carly Lloyd, Alex Morgan, Zach Ertz's wife Julie Ertz.
Oh yes, that's right.
So, but the big news, of course, but like I said, gymnastics is up there, of course, and that's been that way for a few years. But those are the four sports I think that matter the most. Basketball, gymnastics, soccer, and of course swimming, I think are the biggest events that everyone looks forward to. And I might be wrong, but at least from my vantage point, that's what it seems like. But Simone Biles won her first gold in the women's vault. Sunisa Lee of the U.S. won in the uneven bars. But here's where I think the talking point's going to come in. The IOC announced, the International Olympic Committee, who was in charge of the gymnastics as well, the gymnastics division, they announced there's going to be a 2 medal per country rule in the 2020 Olympic gymnastics events. I guess I'll let you start. What's your thoughts there?
Are you just trying to discriminate against USA because they're too damn good in gymnastics? Is that what it sounds like to me? Olympics?
It should.
Shame on you. Shame on you. All right? Just because Simone Biles is literally the GOAT of gymnastics doesn't mean you need to be, ruling against us.
They hate.
If there was also a rule, you should have put it on Michael Phelps for literally beating everybody's ass.
That should be the rule in swimming. That should be the rule in swimming. But
should have been the rule in swimming. But hey, look, just because Simone Biles at 24 years old is literally the good at gymnastics and can literally just like twirl like it's nothing doesn't mean you need to have a 2 medal per country rule in the Olympics.
To me,
Are
that
you just trying to give other countries a chance? Is this what it's going at? This is how the world has come to, especially in 2021?
I think it should come down to who's the best athlete at the end of the day, not what country. I think it shouldn't matter what country they represent. I think it should matter who's the best of the best. Okay, if I'm the one at the end of the day who gets screwed by the score because, oh, look, this person or this country already medaled, you may have had a flawless thing, but you can't win this medal. I'm sorry. If that's how I'm reading it, then that's just wrong on so many levels.
That's what it seems like.
So, but I don't know. I may have very well misread the article, but that's what I will say.
So, what it seems like to me is whatever event the country can only win up to 2 medals. So that means like they can win maybe gold and bronze or something like that, but another country would have to win silver.
Yeah.
It can't be, well, USA wins gold, silver, and bronze. That's what it seems like to me. So it seems like it's an event thing that they can't win more than 2 per event.
And we'll probably follow up on this on Sunday if I'm wrong.
And if that's the case, then that seems a little bit better. But if it's like they can only win 2 medals for the whole entire gymnastics, that's messed up. That's complete and utter nonsense. And that means you're literally being very biased against, athletes that are just dominating.
Or a nation that's dominating. I won't even just say the U.S. I'd say against the nation, you're biased against them. But as you're getting some 3D action there. But let's move forward here. Again, if there's any, if anyone knows the true rule, please comment it below. I'll fix my error on Sunday if that's the case. But moving forward to U.S. soccer, I think this is the most anticipated one. The U.S. women's team won 6-1 on Saturday morning against New Zealand. They had 4 goals that were called back due to offside, so it very well could have been 10-1 U.S.
Crazy.
But this is a rebound from their loss the other day against Sweden. And Sweden is probably the biggest threat to the U.S. this year. I mean, their defense, I'm not a soccer analyst by any means, but their defense is smothering. I watched them against Australia the other day as well, and they slaughtered them, but they just swarmed them.
Who knows? That could be the gold medal game.
Yeah.
USA and Sweden.
I know everyone's talking New Zealand, but I think Sweden's going to end up on that podium by the end of the Olympics. But
Wouldn't shock me.
should I point this out too? The U.S. group, so the group that the U.S. is playing in, of course, they've been grouped up. It's round-robin style right now. There's 25 plus goals in this group right now. One of the big games as well, China and Zambia, they tied at 4-4 the other day. This is on Saturday. They tied 4-4. I'm telling you, the U.S. has a very offensive group that's with them, and they have a challenge. But the other question is, I guess, as I add to my thoughts, of course, there's been some headlines surrounding this U.S. women's soccer team, of course, for the equal pay. The news came out right before the Olympics. The other thing that made headlines with the U.S. women's soccer team is they weren't in attendance for the opening ceremonies. Not really good press, let's put it that way, to not show up at the opening ceremonies. But are these distractions going to catch up to them, or do you think they silenced them in that game on Saturday?
I think they silenced the distractions in that game Sunday. But then again, those distractions could very well cost them.
Yeah.
Time will only tell if it will or not. But getting a dominant win like that seems to me that the distractions are not there at all. They're just there to win gold like they are every single Olympic year. As far as the group that they're in, yeah, I would say there's a lot of countries that are probably going to give them a run for their money, which is not a bad thing. You kind of want the Olympics to be a little bit more on the competitive side, not one country just taking it all and running with the money and just going as is. It seems like it's a common theme this year that there's a lot of teams that are coming up and being very competitive with USA and giving them a run for their money, and it's making for an interesting Olympic year. It really is, and hey, I'm okay with that. I mean, it just shows
I
that
like to see a challenge.
They're not gonna have it easy anymore.
Yeah, I'm liking it so far. I mean, I think it's great seeing, first off, Sweden's defense, how good they were. Obviously New Zealand, let's put it this way, they put up a good challenge. We know there's going to be, I believe, the Netherlands are going to be the biggest challenge, I heard, to the U.S. in soccer. But, again, I go to Sweden. I think Sweden and the Netherlands, I think they'll somehow end up on the podium. I believe they'll end up on the podium at the end of this Olympics. But 25 goals in this group, it's amazing. As far as the distractions, I think, though, there's only so much tuning out you can do, but what's great is that you don't have a crowd to really...
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
but at the same time, it's good and bad because it's good that you don't have people heckling you, but it's bad because now it's kind of quiet, and quietness stirs up thoughts. And of course, U.S. women's soccer in court battling for equal pay, which they should. There's no denying that they should be paid equal, and I think actually they should be paid more than the men, considering I think they do not only the performance side of things, I think the ratings-wise they should be.
Yeah, they draw a lot more ratings than the men's.
Well, because the men's side's a joke, and we might just see that on Tuesday, I believe, because Tuesday is when the men's side plays, if I'm not mistaken. So, but now on to our last sport that we're going to cover here on Tinkle Olympic Zone this Tuesday. Let's go to basketball. So the women's 3-on-3 tournament, the U.S. women are 4-0 to open the Olympics. Some of the highlights of that, they played a doubleheader on Friday. They beat Mongolia 20-9, and then they beat France 17-10 on Friday, and then Saturday they beat Russia 20-16. The 3-on-3 team looks very good, I think, early on.
Yeah, they seem. I mean, I wouldn't really say exactly super dominant, but they seem to be opposed to getting to winning some medals. I mean, they definitely seem. Now the question is, how come the men's don't have a 3-on-3 team? I know that they have the actual basketball team.
I just haven't. Maybe I didn't notice it when I was looking through some of the results.
They probably do, and it'd be very intriguing of who would be on that 3-on-3 team. But
yeah,
definitely the women's side definitely has 3 good players that they have. They're just putting a good running.
We'll figure that out. But
to already go 4-0 to open up the Olympics is definitely surely a great thing for them.
Yes, but
somebody has to go undefeated in basketball. Surely we know that somebody hasn't gone undefeated.
Let's get right to that. The men's Olympic basketball team has suffered their first loss in the Olympics since 2004. They lost to France 83-76. If you count the qualifiers prior to the Olympic ceremonies, they have lost 3 of their last 4 games. Jason, is it time to sound the alarm? I guess is the first question.
I just want to know how a team that's got Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, and Devin Booker, and the list goes on, loses to a team that has Nicholas Batum, Rudy Gobert, Evan Fournier, and a bunch of other great France players. That's pretty bad. And the bad thing is, you definitely gotta sound the alarm for a team that also wanted Kevin Durant badly, but the problem is, where has Kevin Durant been? He hasn't been there to lead the team. And the problem is, Kevin Durant, I think, is like one of the only guys that's on the Olympic men's basketball team that's actually won gold medal in 2012. And I think also in 2016
Dream Team
too.
2.0, by the way.
Yes, and I think he won it also in 2016. I think he was on the 2016 team.
Yeah, he was.
Could be wrong. So he's used to it. What's different this time? Is it because he doesn't have LeBron? Is it because he doesn't have
there's no Steph Curry,
guys like Kobe and other players like that? Is that why he feels like he's got way too much pressure on his hands, or is he just playing with a group of guys that have no real Olympic background?
Let's propose the other question, by the way. is this fatigue from the NBA season. Keep in mind, there's been no layover between
Oh,
the NBA season as well. And I'm not blaming the NBA because they had to get a season in, but
yeah.
at the same time, I mean, and it, you know, I don't think the fatigue factor can necessarily factor in here too as well because I mean look at the
Mm,
other countries. The other countries have NBA players on the roster as well. I mean you just mentioned a handful of them. Um,
right.
but I don't want to make too many excuses. But I will say that it just appears that there's either growing pains with Greg Popovich's system, um, or definitely layover. I mean, I just limit it to those two things. They just don't seem all there. Let's put it that way.
I mean, Greg Popovich definitely his system doesn't seem to be working in the
Mhm.
NBA anymore, and it's clearly
Yeah.
showing in the
Right.
Spurs in the NBA.
Mhm.
As far as all these players, I hate to say it, I know Greg Popovich is an
Yep.
old school coach and wants to install a system. You almost
Mhm.
should just let the players play. It's
Yeah.
the Olympics. It's very different than the
Yeah.
NBA itself. Um, Let them figure things out.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be some growing pains and there might be some
Who's gonna help?
fatigue factoring in, especially from Drew Holiday
Mhm.
and um
Middleton and
yeah,
Booker as
Chris
well.
Middleton and Devin Booker. They're probably the ones that are feeling the most fatigue, and they're also the
Yeah.
ones that haven't really been showing up. So that's probably what's plaguing them.
Yeah.
But there's just no
Um,
question. You got guys that
but
really didn't go
also
very far.
also factor in how many players opted out as well because they do realize that some of these players do realize that if they went to the Olympics there would be no off season because the second they get back to the Americas it's back to work for the NBA season.
Yeah.
So I mean keep in mind this probably isn't the best roster that they assembled. um and I don't blame those players that opted out. They should have if they felt that their safety was in jeopardy there. Um, you know, so I just I I don't know, but at the end of the day, as far as Popovich, if he is using his system, I think he should be listening to his assistant coaches. There's a reason why these assistant coaches are head coaches in the NBA. Eric Spoelstra, which again, I still question why Popovich was picked because it's clear that he really hasn't adopted today's NBA. He's kind of falling like Phil Jackson from Grace if you look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, you know,
Eric Spoelstra could have definitely been a
mhm.
really good one to have, especially with Bam Adebayo being one of the
Yeah.
players there on the Olympic team.
But here's the thing: if those players didn't opt out, do you really think Bam Adebayo would have been a Olympic player?
He probably would have been a bench
I
player
mean,
if anything.
there's guys on this bench that if players now we know LeBron was gonna opt out. We know for a fact LeBron wasn't gonna play for Team USA. He hasn't played since 2012 because he doesn't want to fatigue himself for the NBA season.
Okay, first off, he was also LeBron James was
Mhm.
also the whiny little bitch that was saying, oh, the reason why players were getting injured is because we had a short off
Mhm.
season. So you knew he wasn't
But
gonna
but
be in
he's
the
right.
Olympics
But
anyway.
he's right at the end of the day.
I know he is, and I get it, and I
You
understand
know.
it, but you're also talking about a chance to win gold medal for like how many straight years that
Mhm.
he's done it? I mean, he was there in 2008,
Yeah.
2012, 2016.
Like yeah, but let's look at this too. Dwayne Wade's not there anymore. He's out of the picture. Um,
Hmm
let's look at this as well. Carmelo Anthony has fallen from grace in those years since.
Yeah, but he could have still been there, though.
And I think, well, here's the thing as well. I think the biggest factor in this as well is he didn't want to play if Jim Boeheim wasn't the coach. I'm willing to question that too, because keep in mind, under Coach K's regime of the USA basketball team, Jim Boeheim was the assistant coach. And I think that was
we all know what he did with Coach Boeheim.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
The only championship that he ever won outside of the Olympics.
Kind of sad. It really is. And I think that's how it's going to be for the rest of his career.
Although, who knows? He might be pairing up with LeBron next year. Just saying.
I don't know about that.
But, I think, though, Spoelstra would have been the better choice for the head coach. Maybe even Brad Stevens, at the end of the day, would have been a decent choice.
Yeah, but Brad Stevens is becoming a GM, so I don't know about that.
But I'm just saying, I think those two would have given Team USA a better chance to win gold. As much as I want to blame it on the players that opted out, it's also on coaching. Coaching's not off the hook on this. I think, obviously we knew there were going to be growing pains. They experienced it in the FIBA tournament a few years ago with Popovich. We knew it was coming. If it's this year that they don't win, it wouldn't shock me. But I think for sure they need to sound the alarm. They've gotta. I'm gonna mark Iran tomorrow, I'm sorry, not tomorrow, but in a few short hours after this premiere. I'm marking Iran as a must-win. They have to win this game somehow, some way. And for me,
I can't see why not, because to my knowledge, Iran doesn't have an NBA, a few NBA stars. They just have whoever is their top players, so they might have a better shot.
But it's not necessarily just about that. There could be players in Iran that just weren't on the radar that are just as good as Team USA.
That's true too.
So I'm just going to say this. I think for me to be convinced that Team USA lands on the podium in men's basketball, not just gold, because I think gold is going to be a long shot. I think it's going to be between...
I think so too.
I think it's going to be between Spain and either France or Slovenia, maybe. I
was about to say, I honestly can see Slovenia probably getting close to it.
Yeah, I don't want to put them on the podium, but we know how good Spain is, and Spain will be either gold, silver, potentially bronze, but I think it'll be gold or silver for them.
I want to say the top three teams that have to be Slovenia with Luka Doncic, France with,
France with their
the three top players that they have. And
I wouldn't even put Argentina
probably Spain.
Out of this. Argentina's got some age, but Argentina's kind of got an older roster, but they're always in the mix at the end. But for me to be convinced, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me with this, for me to be convinced that Team USA is going to get anywhere even close to a bronze, note a bronze, they need to win this game by a big margin. Okay? I don't mean like 10, 5-10 points. I mean they need to win this by 15
they need to win
plus.
By 40.
No, not 40. I mean 15 plus. I think 15 to 20 plus they need to win this game by. And they need to win their next match after that. And I believe after the third match, if I might have this wrong, after the third match, I believe the fourth match is dependent on their record. Otherwise, they're sent home. But
sounds about right.
But yeah, for me to be convinced that they have even a shot at the podium in Tokyo, they need to win this game by a big margin. Otherwise, I think they're not even going to medal.
And honestly, there's a very strong chance that they're not going to medal
Yeah.
at all. I'm going to make my strong prediction. I think they're going to beat Iran. The next opponent after that, I don't know. It depends on who they're playing.
Of course, I can actually look that up. But to be honest, I think the best chance for Team USA to, I think in team sports in general, I think their best chance to medal. So, of course, the women's tournament, I think the women's team is going to medal gold. I think they're going to win gold. I'm willing to place bets on that.
Oh, the women's 3-on-3 team or the women's basketball team?
Play the women's basketball team, not just the three. I think the 3-on-3 team is the team to beat. But I think
now, is Candace Parker part of the women's basketball team?
I have no clue. Your guess is as good as mine. So the Czech Republic.
Because I was about to say, Czech Republic?
Yep, that's the third game. They don't really have anybody of note that I know of. But to me, they gotta win.
I think the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of
this one. This one is Saturday, July 31st at 8 a.m. Eastern.
There's a couple pretty good NBA players that are from the Czech Republic. I
don't know if they're on the roster. But nonetheless, they gotta win these two games, I think, to even have remotely a shot. And I think they gotta win them by a good margin to convince anybody that they're gonna land on this podium. But I was gonna say, I think of any of the team sports, women's basketball, they're probably gonna take gold medal. I think. To be honest, baseball has always been hit or miss. I think the baseball team could end up with a bronze. I think that's a safe bet. Because keep in mind, Team USA Baseball does not have any of the major leaguers. Major League Baseball is still playing right now. So I think women's basketball, I think women's soccer, by the way, women's soccer might medal, but I think, here's the thing, I think women's soccer is the biggest challenge because they have to play either the Netherlands, as mentioned, or they're going to play Sweden again, and I think both of them have a real good shot of taking down Team USA Soccer. But you wanted to say something, I believe, right?
Okay, so I guess Candace Parker is not part of the women's Olympic team, but Brittany Griner, if you remember her,
I'm sure Brianna Stewart's a part of it.
Yep, you're correct.
Yeah, so then
so we got Sylvia Fowles, Sue Bird.
Sue Bird is
Tina
good.
Charles, Deanna Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Brittany Griner, Jewel Lloyd, AJ Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Nafessa Collier, and Ariel Atkins. Outside of probably Brittany Griner and maybe Brianna Stewart.
Paige Buchers, huh?
No.
She'll be there in a few years. Mark my words there.
I'm actually shocked at. I mean, I get that Parker is up there and not super young, but like I'm shocked that she wasn't part of the Olympic team. To be honest,
it's fine, honestly. But nonetheless, I think they're gonna medal. I believe Gino is still the coach of the women's team as well, if I'm not mistaken. Gino Ariema. And he is the GOAT of women's basketball in general, not just college. I think just in the world, he's the best women's basketball coach. But again, that's my predictions for the medals. I think USA is going to struggle in the men's side. I think the women's side is a gimme. I think 3-on-3 is a gimme. And I think women's soccer is debatable still. I'm convinced by the 6-1, but I'm not fully convinced based on the Sweden result, I think they could give them a challenge. What about you here?
I think they'll get close, but might fall up short.
For the women's soccer?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that young core is going to experience a growing pain.
Because they always seem to get close and then fall up short every
Not recently.
Olympic year. I don't understand why.
But,
yes, I know not recently. They just, they're coming off they're actually technically the defending gold medalists, I think.
But what I was saying, but while you were looking that up as well, is I don't know what to think of Team USA baseball either. I think it's going to be a fringe thing, and of course we'll discuss it next Tuesday here, as well as probably on Sunday. But you got to factor
I know we didn't have this written down, but the softball team.
Yeah, softball's looking
really
like a
good.
gold medal team.
They're actually, I think they're actually competing for gold.
Yeah. I'm buying them, honestly. I'm buying them as the Olympic gold team there. But again, so much is going to happen in the next handful of days. Of course, as mentioned, we will talk softball and baseball, hopefully on Tinkle Sports Talk on Sunday when we're back. We'll talk a little more Olympics. Obviously, unlike this show, we're not going to fully dive into the Olympics on Tinkle Sports Talk. We're going to have segments for it. But, of course, that show is... If you don't normally watch that show and you're just watching this one today, that show will dive in slightly. But, of course, there's so many other stories we have to cover outside of the Olympics. So we'll try to make some time to discuss Olympic talk over there. And anything we don't cover will be talked here on Tinkle Olympic Zone when we return next Tuesday. Hey, thanks for freeing up your schedule to join me on a Tuesday. For once.
I know.
Yeah. Shoot. Man, soon we'll be going 5 days a week. Just kidding. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But, anyway, we want to thank you guys for watching. Of course, we'll be back. If you don't see us on Sunday on Tinkle Sports Talk, we're going to cry about it for sure. But otherwise, we will see you back here next Tuesday when we return with Tinkle Olympic Zone for our final episode of 2. Till then, goodbye, everyone.